Oh, really? That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I gotta draw with this forever.
The name now. What's going on? Call to order at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
And the United States of America.
Thank you. We are being broadcast live on cable, and we are also on YouTube. Supervisor Wright, please call the roll. Trustee Bruce.
Here.
Trustee Martin. Here. Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Boyd.
Here.
Trustee Blunt.
Here.
Trustee President. Supervisor. Here. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Executive summary of today's agenda. We have the consent agenda or the agenda of items that don't require debate amongst trustees. Those things include things like approving paying our bills, approving our minutes, paying the poll workers at work, approving the police command contract that we discussed in a closed meeting today, approving a yearly contract, which is a grant with SMART for senior transportation money. And with great love, we are also reappointing the Board of Review. Those are the lovely people that decide that we are fairly taxed. We reappoint Penny Young, Harry Roche, and Elaine Gutierrez. We also have Gina Tarazio as an alternate. Thank you very much for them volunteering to do this. We also have two reappointments to the Board of Appeals in Charles Larock and John Herman. And I know John Herman's here, and thank you very much, John, for giving your time to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have a full agenda today. We need to extend our agreements with Iron Bell Trail along the Huron Water with the Huron Water Pathways Initiative. We need to consider several rezonings and special land use requests. Our next energy is here. We have that's a $1.6 billion plant that could have gone anywhere in the world, but chose Van Buren Township wisely, I might add. We also have to accept some free property that's along Belleville Road for township's future use. And we have to approve a PA 152, which is an annual exemption we must do each year to tell the employees that they must pay 10% of their health care. That is the executive summary. Can I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Support.
Motion for support? Supported.
I make a motion.
Miller? And then, yeah, you gotta read it. Let's start reading. Consent agenda.
Okay, number one, work study meeting minutes of November 1st, 2022. Closed session meeting minutes of November 1st, 2022. Board meeting minutes of November 1st, 2022. Board prepaid list of November 3rd, 2022. Voucher list of November 15th, 2022. November 8th, 2022. General election poll workers payroll. 8. Approval of the POLC command contract for 2022 through the 2025, and approval of the 2023 Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation, known as SMART contract. This is an annual approval of the 2023 SMART contract. Approval of the reappointments of Penny Young, Harry Roche, and Elaine Gutierrez. Did I say that correctly, Sharon? Gutierrez, I'm sorry. An appointment of Gina Tarazio, alternative to the Board of Review, with terms to expire December 31st, 2024. Approval of the reappointment of Charles Larock and Don Herman to the Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA, with terms to expire December 1st, 2025. And I believe John Herman is here tonight, so I thank him for his continued services. He is in the audience. Do I have some? The board.
So I think this, okay, so I have a motion, I have support, I don't believe it's debatable. What?
You missed the, prepaid list of November 10th, 2022.
No, I sent prepaid list in November.
Okay, so it's an add.
I'll add it again if I missed it.
No, good, all right, it's added. It's not a debatable consent agenda, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, come on. We move now to, I missed something here. Adoption of the agenda. Thank you very much. Adoption of the agenda. Could somebody make a motion to adopt the agenda moving number 7 to 1?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
For great, no motion? For
We'll change. We'll change in the agenda.
7 to 1.
I make a motion, we adopt the agenda and changing item 7 to item 1. One time only. Yeah, any support?
All right. Okay, I got a motion, I've got a second, we're changing 7 to 1. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is public hearing. We have none. Correspondence, announcements, and presentations. I have a few announcements, but I'm going to start off with the big announcement for us, and not one here. So that's is we have our trustee Reggie Miller as one is now our state representative elect for the 31st district, and we should give her a round of applause. But say anything.
Speech. This is ready for a speech, but I just want to thank all the residents, all my friends, this board for your continued support. I didn't put myself there, all of you did, and I am forever grateful. I will work hard for all of you in District 31, as you well know. I will never change, and I'm just a phone call away. I'm here for all of you, and you know where I'm. So I'll give a speech later on. I never thought I would win, but I'm so happy that I did win, and I will have to eventually resign, and there will be a time for that. Just let my blisters heal right now.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you. I had much support from this board, and I'm very grateful.
We also have Kevin Martin, who's retired from General Motors, and had a wonderful part of the little day. December 3rd is our Winter Fest. And so don't forget that's what, 5:15, I think the parade steps off. Afterwards is going to be fireworks if this board allows it. And what?
I think it's six.
I think so.
Six, okay. We had a pumpkin roll this weekend, Jennifer Sangline's group, and or last weekend. And it was amazing. The little kids rolled pumpkins down, and they went up the ramp, and some blew up, and it was a lot cuter than I thought it was going to be. And I'm sure we're going to do it for many years to come. So we're really catch on. Also, Goodfellows, please start getting ready to save your packages up. The Goodfellows are coming. No Kid Without a Christmas and all that. And lastly, there's a mitten tree. The seniors that are, if you got mittens or scarves or something, you want to take it down to the senior center on Haggerty Road. We have a thing called the mitten tree that we're doing with the seniors. They're hanging mittens off it. I'm not sure who's getting them with seniors or kids or. And I have somebody just shaking their head. No.
Goodfellow,
This is the Goodfellows?
yes,
Oh, they call it the mitten tree?
it's donated to the Goodfellow. We collected it.
Take your stuff up for Goodfellows. Okay. All right. I know there's other announcements.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyone? Okay, every year about this time, especially right after Veterans Day, we have a husband and wife team named Bob and Mary Krause. That I would be in trouble if I didn't what they do take every year, which is they go to our cemetery, all four of them play veteran flags and all our veteran grave sites. So Bob and Marie, we thank you again. this year as always. The township administrative offices will be closed on Thursday, November 24th, in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. And we also close the day after, if they want to know. I want to give a brief overview of the exciting November 8th election last Tuesday, which I have the honor of overseeing every election, and my deputy, Brittany. We had 13,671 total voters voted in the November 8th general election. This was about 56, and let's say 55% of our total registered voters in the township, which has increased over the years. If we like at 20, that is looking less than 23, 25, wow, so we have 25,000 registered voters. 6,603 of them voted by former absentee, in which I have to thank my team again. We have increased that tremendously. 6,603. When I came in office, we had about 800 on the voter registry, absentee file. I think there's something like that. Absentee, people that vote absentee normally vote all the time. That's why it's important that every clerk should be, one of the clerk's jobs is not only to run the elections in Michigan, all local clerks in Michigan, cities and townships and villages run elections, but it should be their job to increase voter turnout. So the job shouldn't stop on election day. It just should start the day after. As you look at your voter turnout, the incentive should be always to, how can I increase voter turnout for the next election? Because everyone has one vote, and our job is to make sure everybody use that vote to make their voices heard. 7,068 voted in person, which was a good turnout. We always have a good turnout in Van Buren Township, which is great. I'm really proud of our voters. They turn out and they vote, which is tremendous. We had one issue where a tabulator went down at Esmont School due to equipment failure. This was not it's not unique in any election. We have 10 precincts, and all over the county we was having problems with tabulators sticking a jam, and they're kind of sensitive. So when the voter walks up to the tabulator and they have their ballot in the secrecy sleeve, for some reason they're very hesitant to take it out and put their feet through the tabulator. They think it's someone's being sealed or something, so they kind of jams it up there. And if you jam it up there, the tabulator say, "Oh, that's not correct. I don't like that," and it started jamming. Well, this happened at Esmont, and it got to the point where we had to shut it down. And the first thing is to do when something like that happens, if the chair can't figure out how to stop the jamming, they call the clerk office and we send out a technician. What we did, we hire a technician every election. I hire a technician from Dominion to come out and be accessible for equipment failure. So we sent that technician out to Esmont. He tried to resolve the issue, in which initially led to that interchange the head on every tabulator can be replaced. We don't have enough heads to replace every tabulator, so I don't want everybody to know that. So we have spare heads, but we don't have enough to replace every tabulator. That would be something that I would be talking about in the near future with my board. So that's the procedure. The procedure when the tabulator go down, the procedure is that the chairperson has asked the voter if they want to wait in line to see that ballot be cast. They can put it in, they have the option of putting it in what we call the auxiliary bin, which is a lock. And every ballot that's put in the auxiliary bin at the end of the night, when they close, a Republican and a Democrat or each party, one person in each party, will stand there and feed those ballots through the tabulator one at a time until they get them all. So that's the process. It's very frustrating for voters when this happens. That's why we never like to see it happen, but if you're working with the foot, you can't dictate what's gonna happen. And to have only one do it, which is kind of great with the type of turnout that we had. The calculator thing was, like I said, is unavoidable, but it's still not acceptable. So the plan is to address every single issue that was written down by our chairperson at each precinct. We sit down and we go through those issues and we troubleshoot and see what to be done for the next election. So it's not going unheard. Everything that happened on election day will be addressed, and if there's a process that we can eliminate it or see what we can do to fix it. So many of us have new machines, and this is our 4th year with those calculators. State may be looking at something new. That's what they normally do after a certain number of years. They start looking at new equipment. But this is a big cost, and those equipment, those machines are not cheap. So it's something that we will have to look at and address to see do we need to go to a higher, different type of tabulator, or is that something that the state will look at? We'll have to wait and see. We had a few complaints overall. So I'm very happy with the complaints that we didn't receive from other precincts, which led me to believe that our volunteers, if they are workers for a day, but they are remember they are volunteers. They don't do this every day. It's like I'm calling someone from their normal job and say, hey, you're gonna do this job for one day. And by the way, I need to be perfect at it. So it's kind of hard ticket to get, but I have the privilege to have workers that come back every election. And I also have the privilege to have employees that work for the township that works for us every day, that works at AV County Board and led by she in the room, Tammy. She's our coordinator in our AV County room, does a great job. And these employees are negotiating contract with them would ask me to work the elections, every election, which gives me that not only the same people every election, but someone that is used to doing the same thing and does repetitive work every day. So that it's like they're not coming into something new they're not used to, but now they know the job, they know the machinery, and they do a great job. We had 0 issues in the AV County room, which is great. On election night, it's great if you can get out of here by midnight. I think we were walking out the door at midnight, wasn't we?
Yeah.
So we had a good election. Again, I'd like to congratulate Noah.
Ms. Here.
Representative Noah. I was calling her Representative Noah before the election. I told her I knew that she would win it for this election. She get out and do the work. Her hard work pays off. That's my report. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to have any announcements? Does anybody from the public have any announcements? Are you getting to make an announcement, Dan?
Nope, just checking our Zoom to see if there's announcement, comments from there.
We're under public comment. Is anybody from the public that wishes to make comment on any of the issues of the day?
Nobody on the Zoom.
Great, now we're gonna move on to new business. Can I get a motion on item number 7, which is now number 1, to consider approval of our annual exemption to the township?
Chair.
What?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2022-30, the annual exemption of the township from 2011 to 2022.
Support, thank you. All right, can you give us, this our annual?
Good evening, board, and thank you so much for the accommodation that you made for me tonight, which I'm sure all of our employees will be grateful for, because the township does do an annual exemption to opt out of the hard cap, which is 80/20, and it will keep us at 10% of our medical payments each year. So this is done by an annual exemption, and it has to be done by a 2/3 vote of the governing body. So with that, I ask for approval of the adoption of resolution 2022-30, the annual exemption to opt out of PA 152.
Okay, any questions? Do it every year. New contract,
This is by roll call.
it is by roll call. Clerk Wright, would you call the roll?
Trustee Perry,
Right.
trustee Miller, trustee Boyd,
Yes.
trustee Martin. Yes. Treasurer Bud,
Yes.
yes, the new supervisor,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
We're back to new business. We're, number one, which is number two. To consider approval of the agreement with Huron Waterloo Pathways Initiative. Can I get a motion?
President, I make that motion to consider approval of the Pathways Initiative for the Irondale Trail, Section J, railroad work for reimbursable cost of $50,000.
Report.
Right?
Good evening, board. As you are all aware, maybe painfully, we're constantly working to close the gap on the Iron Bell Trail. So we are requesting tonight that the board approves the attached agreement with Huron Waterloo Pathway Initiative for the Section J railroad work. It's a reimbursable cost of $50,423. So as part of this agreement, HWPI commits to reimburse the township fully for that amount. This work needs to be completed before Section J construction is actually started, which is currently slated for 2023 construction. So as soon as, if this is approved, sign the agreement, the construction on the railroad crossing will start. Any questions?
Any questions? Where's the word we're crossing at? I'm sorry.
Yeah, on East Huron River Drive.
Thank you. Go ahead.
No, that sounds good.
Okay, so it's on each side.
The existing, right, so they just have to do a little bit of work to it to make the pathway go over the railroad essentially.
I didn't know we were down in that area already.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, and they work on rates right now?
Yep.
Okay, we need this. You guys ready? All right, here, no discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of ordinance 11-15-23 to rezone parcel 83-008990082706 42-060 East Road from empty industrial complex to increase zone industrial conditions.
Very good. Okey dokey, Director Powers. Wait for
Yes, thank you, board. I don't think we need visual aid tonight, but if it does pop up, that's a bonus, I guess. I just want to thank you for giving me the time to discuss this project and this rezoning with you tonight. There are two related agenda items before you. One is a rezoning ordinance, which is fairly typical, and then there's also a conditional rezoning agreement that relates to this. So if the board doesn't mind, I'll go over both right now. Sure.
Yeah, could you amend your approval? Right.
Yes, amend my motion to also
What line item is that?
number 2.
And
Well, also
number one.
number 3, to consider approval of conditional rezoning agreement with Park Road Distribution Center North, Fix LLC, and associated with the proposed rezoning of 4206 East Road.
Report.
So the spacer, good for that? Okay, good. Good. Now you're on 2, 3.
Okay. Thank you, board. Let's see how we do here. I do want to mention that tonight in the audience, we have people from Ashley Crossroads Distribution Center. Ashley Crossroads 6 LLC is the landholder, as well as from Our Next Energy. Ken Bowen is here with Ashley Capital, and with Our Next Energy, I saw Laura Rand. Shahzad Butt, with the company that would eventually be occupying this site if these actions are approved tonight. As I mentioned, or as you heard in the board action, there's a request for rezoning from what's now MT Industrial Transportation to M2, which is General Industrial with conditions. And I'll go over what the conditions are for and what those conditions are. The request is related to the roughly 660,000 square foot building that's being constructed right now in the Ashley Crossroads number 6 building site at 42060 Ecorse Road. The property is being considered for this request to facilitate a slight change in use and a change in zoning to accommodate general manufacturing use that's specifically limited to a certain type of lithium ion battery manufacturer, which is a lithium iron phosphate, specifically type of automotive battery for electric vehicles. From time to time, the township considers rezonings of this nature with conditions where you look at the picture of what the township has in its master plan for an area, and you consider that there are unique circumstances around a property, unique benefits of a project that may be considered in having a rezoning with certain conditions on that zoning that confine certain things that they're voluntarily committed by an applicant. In this case, the area in question has historically been developed as a site for logistics and light manufacturing. You have the Ashley Crossroads North site that has 2 buildings up right now. The first is a roughly 200,000 square foot building with 6 tenants. The second is a large 660,000 square foot building occupied by FedEx. The zoning district that these buildings lie in allows, like I said, light manufacturing. But we also have an opportunity here to look at the potential for different kinds of manufacturing that could be suitable given the context of the site, its location, its prominence in the region with the different interstate freeways that are in the vicinity. And so those things in combination with the site being well on its way to being fully developed and served by utilities and services made an attractive site for the potential tenant, which is Our Next Energy, to launch their battery manufacturing use. The Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the proposed rezoning and took comments and heard from the applicant on October 26th, and they made a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. As part of a conditional rezoning agreement consideration by the Township Board, you are looking at both a conventional rezoning where we're going to change the zoning of the official zoning ordinance and zoning map, as well as a set of conditions and stipulations that go with the Planning Commission's recommendation of a project. This is a huge economic opportunity for the township, and it based on the restrictions that are voluntarily offered by the applicant. The Planning Commission found that the rezoning would be appropriate. I'll summarize the conditions that they put in place related with that decision. That the proposed conditional rezoning is consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the master plan and its subsequent amendments. That the proposed conditional rezoning voluntarily prohibits any of the heavy manufacturing and automotive uses allowable in the proposed M2 district. That's a really important point because M2 is the only district in which we allow anything automotive, the way that our zoning ordinance is written. And so by limiting this to a specific type of battery manufacturer and excluding some of the heavier other automotive processes, that's an important limit that the Planning Commission found to be acceptable for the site. That the subject site received site plan approval from the Planning Commission and is in the process of complying with all of the zoning ordinance and site design requirements. The site's being built based on a 2019 approval. The proposed rezoning with conditions will result in the integration of the proposed use with the characteristics of the existing industrial area. That the proposed conditional rezoning will facilitate a business that anticipates a $1.6 billion investment in creation of 2,000 or more jobs, which are of a definite public benefit to the residents in the region. That the proposed conditional rezoning does not preclude any future zoning action by the township. That the site is served by adequately by utility service and is working with the township, DTE, and Wayne County to meet additional needs. That the conditions are offered by the applicant and fully enforceable. That's also a very important point. These are conditions that were voluntarily offered by Ashley. That the conditional rezoning is not a use variance and that the site has already received site plan approval, and the proposed manufacturing use is classified as a permitted principal use in the proposed M2 district. I would like to be more specific about what these conditions are that were put in place specifically by the applicant. Excuse me. The applicant has offered the following conditions with this request: that the township agrees to rezone the property from MT industrial transportation to M2 general industrial as set forth in the Charter Township of Van Buren zoning ordinance Article 3, and allow the uses permitted by right and identified as permitted uses in section 3.117. The following additional conditions shall apply to the rezoning: that the assembly or manufacture of automobiles and automobile bodies shall not be permitted here. Breweries, bump shops, metal buffing, plastering and polishing shops, lumber and planing mills, painting and sheet metal repair, sheet metal shops, undercoating and rust proofing shall not be permitted. Truck and railroad terminals shall not be permitted. And all of the special land uses identified in the M2 and general industrial district, section 3.117C, are not permitted. And that rules out that this building could ever turn into something that has those more intensive special land uses. If any of the following events occur, then this agreement shall be null and void, and the zoning of the property shall revert to the MT industrial transportation zoning classification. That the owner's failure or inability to provide the township with evidence that the owner has executed a minimum 10-year lease with a lithium-ion battery manufacturer within 3 months from the date of this approval tonight. That the developer fails to commence any necessary construction for the project within 6 months from the date of this approval. If the owner ceases to lease the property to a lithium-ion battery manufacturer, if the developer fails to comply with any of the provisions in their offered conditions, or if a court of law makes a determination that the developer has violated the agreement, then those would make this agreement null and void. So that's a lot of just some of the really important conditions and details of the conditional zoning agreement. But the big picture is that this is a use that the Planning Commission found was suitable for this location, beneficial to the township, and that the conditions of the request were reasonable. So I do recommend that the Planning Commission, that the Board of Trustees approves the first of 2 readings for the rezoning and approves the conditional rezoning agreement, which will then be executed if it is approved by the board tonight.
Okay, Clerk Wright, is there anything to say? No. Okay. Treasurer, Trustee Reagan.
I appreciate the thoroughness that was done, and I think it's a good thing.
Trustee Miller.
I'm excited that we're doing the rezoning, getting this project up and running. It will bring in, what, thousands of jobs? 2,000 at a minimum of how much per hour, Kevin?
I don't know.
25?
We have one here.
Yes.
Do they
We
like
need
to
this.
come?
Yes.
We'd love to take them up. You want them there?
Team.
You're $100 an hour.
No, we projected, I think the question was the starting or the minimum wage.
Starting or
Typically,
average?
the average is gonna be around $22 an hour.
Average is around 26, starting is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for that raise.
Yeah.
We have a community benefits program which they've agreed to, and it's Van Buren first. So basically, they're going to do workshops for our people first, and And this is, this isn't a carrot and a stick thing. This is really a carrot because they're gonna hire 2,000 people. If we can help them get people to work there, they're gonna be real happy.
Yes, yeah.
They're very happy to do that. So, Van Buren residents, if you're a budget, get on mine.
I'm sorry, I missed it. What did you say the average salary was that?
I
Well,
can answer based on the projections.
Sure.
Yeah, provided.
Name your title for the record. It's like, yeah. Oh, no.
Hi, I'm Laura Ron. I'm Senior Director of Policy and Sustainability at One. And so for our jobs, as Tony mentioned, for our initial starting wages, they start around $22 an hour, and then the average wages are around $26 an hour. And we'll be hiring a range of positions, including production technicians, engineers, maintenance staff, and are really looking forward to locating this facility in Van Buren Township.
One other question, how long will it take to build this facility?
Hi, I'm Tony Drum, the VP of Manufacturing. The facility will probably be done from the shell perspective at the end of this year. We'll take possession of it first quarter of next year. We'll plan to start producing cells at a small rate sometime in the third quarter of 2023. And then we'll have the larger scale equipment installed in 2024. And we'll probably be producing cells probably the midsummer to the third quarter of 2024, where we'll be hiring a larger number of associates.
And how many projected BBT residents will be employed?
As many as qualify and apply, we'll take them all.
Right? This is so good for our community. It's good for Michigan.
It is.
Clean energy, we're thrilled.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, when do the hiring process start?
We'll probably start hiring a smaller number of people starting in 2023, and then probably around the second to third quarter of 23. Once we get the building facilitized and ready to accept equipment, it'll probably be the summer of 2023. There'll be a smaller number, with a larger number projected in 2024.
Okay, so but we'll be contacting when that hiring process starts.
Absolutely,
They work with us.
absolutely.
Your plug.
I guess I just want to say that the planning commission enjoyed looking over the paperwork and working with Dan and the planning commission to set it so that this could be put in motion so that you could be there. And we appreciate all your help and it's going to be great to see you.
Thank
One
you.
more question, if
Yeah.
I may. Will
Sure.
there be a ribbon cutting here locally, since some of us could not make it?
Yes, can I answer that one?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Shazad. I'm the COO of the company. First, my sincere apologies for not having you there at that previous ribbon cutting ceremony, but absolutely there will be a ribbon cutting ceremony at this facility and you will all be invited. Yes, yes.
I just like to say, thank you for choosing Van Buren Township.
Big better.
We're glad we had something that meets your expectation that you can use and set up and get started. So we're excited. Kudos. Thanks.
Thank you for your hospitality. We're really looking forward to growing here.
Fun story to give you an idea of the scope of this thing is I've been on the phone a lot with the state of Michigan MEDC. And I'm asking all these questions. I said, I know that these may sound dumb questions. I've done a lot of these things before, but I've never done one this big, over $1 billion, in $1.6 billion. I've never done one this big. I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. They said, don't be nervous. We've never done one this big either. What's the big one?
We're very fortunate to have the state's support. We're very fortunate to have your support. And quite frankly, we feel as though the wind is, with us these days, supporting our wings. And we're really looking forward to growing in Van Buren Township and making this just an absolute success with you.
You would make it perfect if you had 5-star offices in Grace Lake.
The planning commission. As well.
Yes.
Yeah, as always, Director Powers, it was a very concise report. And everybody always has 100 questions, but by the time you're done, you can usually get on all of them in good, complete agreement. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everything.
You all look so bright.
So we have to vote twice, but this is today, and we'll vote, and then we'll, the next time around, we don't need to come back out of this. We've got a problem, we did a problem. And then maybe just policy. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Hearing none. This is not a roll call vote. This is a voice vote today. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes and goes to the next meeting for our final vote. Thank you very much. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I saved my ribbon.
We're not returning.
Yeah. All right, next item is number 4, to consider approval of preliminary plan and special land use. Mr. Martin, would you like to make that one? No? Okay, what, do you want to make that number 4? Oh. Okay, all right, this is a Cobblestone Creek plan for residential development. Trustee Miller?
I'll make that motion to consider approval of the preliminary plan and special use land use approval for the revision to the Cobblestone Creek Plan Residential Development ARV by Infinity Acquisitions LLC. Yeah.
All right. Director Powers.
Thank you, board. This item is a much smaller scale than the last item I spoke about, but no less important. But I do want to just give you a little bit of background on why we are here to talk about this project. So we have a pretty strong residential development history in the township. There are some projects that were getting pretty well developed in the mid-2000s, and then there were some delays in construction. That provides some background for what happened in this project area. The project that's in focus with this couple of board action items is the Cobblestone Creek Planned Residential Development, which is a 117-acre residential project in the south portion of the township near West Huron River Drive and Hoff Road. Originally, there were attached townhomes and detached single-family residential that were planned for construction by CA Kime. CA Kime is no longer involved with a portion of this project that affects the attached units, which are called Cobblestone Creek Villas. And so some of the Cobblestone Creek Villas sites had been built out, and originally, as proposed, there were 104 attached units and 26 buildings. 44 of those units are currently constructed in 12 buildings, leaving a gap for the remainder of the project. So Infinity Acquisitions has come in to propose to complete the build out of those attached condominiums. And in doing so, we have to kind of look at their layout and see if it's basically a carbon copy of what was approved before. That's pretty straightforward. But if there are significant changes to the layout or even minor changes to the layout, those typically involve going back to the planning commission, really starting the PRD process over again, albeit with not as much engineering because the site's already basically laid out. So there are roads in the site, there are some utilities in the site, but there's about 7 acres, 6.88 acres that are not built out. And that's where Infinity Acquisitions has come in and proposed to complete the project with some revisions. So as amended, the project would be reduced in the number of units. Infinity is proposing to have 96 total units, including the 44 that are currently constructed and 52 that they propose to build. And that would be in 25 buildings, including the 12 that are constructed today and 13 additional buildings that they propose. So they're proposing quadplex and sixplex buildings to complete that project. Their plans that are proposed that you see in the packet show primarily single floor buildings, whereas the previous buildings by Keim were 2-floor. There are some units that have a second floor loft, but primarily these are single story buildings. Because a change like that to an existing PRD is considered a revision to the PRD, it requires having a special land use approval and a preliminary and final plan approval by the Board of Trustees. So that's why you're here tonight. There's a request for you to approve the special land use and the preliminary plan approval to facilitate this project. The Planning Commission held a hearing on November 9th at their meeting last week they actually held a hearing on June 8th to take comments on this project. It was postponed to get some more information, and then they acted on the project and recommended the preliminary plan and special land use approval at their meeting last week, which was November 9th. So again, these are turning previously planned 2-floor buildings into single-story buildings, attached condominium style, to complete a project that's been long planned and ready to be built on. So I do have Reno Suave with Infinity Acquisitions here tonight, if you have any questions for the builder. Otherwise, we'll keep moving, and if the board does approve this request tonight, we'll go to the Planning Commission with a final version of the PRD agreement as revised and bring that back to you at a later date.
Once constructed, what is the approximate cost of these units? What are we looking at?
Does Mr. Suave have a good answer? I'll defer to the builder on that.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Reno Suave with Infinity Homes and Company. I'm sorry, your question was the cost to construct or cost to sell?
To sell.
We haven't really established a pricing yet. We're thinking they're probably going to be somewhere probably in the mid-2s, probably low to mid-2s, probably to start. But it's kind of I don't want to quote with the environment we're in, I'm kind of reluctant to quote a price. Yeah, you're probably looking somewhere in the 2s. I'm here to answer any question for the board too, so.
Buying back in and taking that over.
We're looking forward to it. So, well, I think I've been before the board before on a handful of occasions where I think we built probably over 100 homes now in the last probably 4 or 5 years in Van Buren Township. So we want to keep the relationship going. We love building here. Director Powell, it's been great. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. So thank you. Great to hear. Thank you.
I'm just gonna be quick. We need some condos on the north side of
And single ranches,
94.
just saying.
Well, we're working on some things, so we're good to know. But multifamily, that was one of the reasons why when we did this, we actually brought, and I was mentioned at the Planning Commission last week, we met with the HOA, and initially our plan was to convert this to single family, which we thought would have been a great compliment, but they said, no, we want to make sure that this stays multifamily. And it's usually, like I mentioned last week, it's usually that we get the Planning Commission on board before the board of directors, the HOA, and they're really supportive of it. They're really excited to see the development finally get done after almost a couple of decades now. So
Yeah, good.
So,
Me too.
thanks, guys.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I have a motion by trustee Miller, supported by trustee Fraser. Ask all the questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item to consider fireworks display permit. Motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the commercial fireworks display permit application made by Mr.
Oh, you're good.
Support.
Okay. Director Akers.
Good evening, board. The applicant is requesting a permit to discharge commercial fireworks during the Winterfest event on Saturday, December 3rd, with a proposed rainout date on Sunday, December 4th. The event is proposed to start at approximately 7:15 p.m. This application has been reviewed by the fire marshal and public services staff and have found it to be in compliance with the township's fireworks ordinance. I want to make a quick point of clarification with regards to the location of the fireworks. In the original submittal, the applicant had submitted paperwork to shoot fireworks from a barge in Belleville Lake due to the closure of the Denton Road Bridge. The applicant has expressed a preference after their submittal to make sure that the fireworks are shot off from an embankment on the west side of the Denton Road Bridge. And as a result, Supervisor McNamara had spoken with Wayne County where they were verbally authorized to do this. I do want to clarify that this revised location has been reviewed and approved by the fire marshal as well. So based on this, the applicant is requesting approval for the Denton Road embankment location as their primary spot and are requesting approval for the barge on Belleville Lake as a backup location in case they need it. The applicant will be required to notify our dispatch of their location prior to the show. This concludes my summary of the application. I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have in the back of the room, Chris from the Michigan Fireworks Club. He is available to answer questions as well.
Does all the paperwork state what you just said? On the application, if you see what I'm getting at, you know, just, I just want to make sure all the paperwork says what you just said.
There was a secondary location and updated application that was sent after the board packet went out. We did email it to all of the trustees, I believe on Thursday of last week, or it was Monday or Thursday. But it did go out. We do have an application which says everything that I just said.
I think the community really enjoys the fireworks and they do such a great job. And I'm excited for them to put on another show for our residents.
Okay, great, we've got a plan, we've got a backup plan. And you guys are ready, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Next item would be number 6. Yeah, number 6. Clerk Wright, you want to make it?
Make a motion to consider approving accepting the property donation from Grover Development. Acres 1.5 acres, 14 parcel 83-8036-99-000-720. Someone give us land here.
Yes, good evening, board. So in front of you is a request to accept property donated from Clover Development as read by Clerk Wright. Clover Development recently purchased property on Belleville Road close to the State Farm insurance, Jake from State Farm. I know we had a conversation about that. They, as you might have noticed, they are clearing the land. They started that a few weeks ago. There's a plan for them to develop the property within the coming year. Part of their process for that was to donate to the township approximately 1.5 acres of land. It's going to be at the north end of their property at the corner. And this is to request that the township accept that donation for future township use.
We discussed it with the board obviously, Robinson's got to go through. Jake from State Farm's got to move. Move over that side. The land was originally going to be driveway, but the planning commission determined the driveway was too close to the Robson intersection. It would have been a traffic danger. So they moved their entrance south, creating this 1.5 acre dead zone that they're not going to use for anything. But yeah, it would be very handy for us to share things that are involved. Any questions?
Who donates land? I mean, what else? That's great.
All right, I have a motion by Clerk Wright. It's been made by Trustee Frazier. There are no further questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Reports, we have none. Do we have anybody from the public that wishes to comment on any items? No? Anybody from the public? No. Okay, anybody from the board that would like to make comments?
Before I give the, supervisor time to slip from, the regular living, that's in the meeting, you know.
Oh, yeah.
For the minutes.
All right, any other discussion? All right, call for adjournment.
I make a motion to
Miller?
adjourn.
Or what, Martin? All in favor? Aye, opposed? We are adjourned. Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Right. Looks like
I'll see, I've got. Shared bunch. I've got. Yeah, anytime you need something, let me know.
Oh, you're good. You're good.